this year, like, we don't have programs because EGRT can't do them. And so now there's just kids that like don't get swimming lessons or don't get tennis or whatever because we eliminated that and then didn't live up to our end of the deal. And that's kind of not really.
I think some of that obviously did happen. I know that we're working very hard to make sure it doesn't happen this year. Right now, I talked to Cole, actually, even as of today, I talked to EGRT last week. They're looking to provide our swimming lessons. And I think they're looking to provide them in a manner that accommodates the lower income folks. We made an agreement apparently way back in the past when we closed everyone's pool that we would offer basically free scholarships for certain folks to come and use the pool. And we'll continue to do that. The tennis may have gotten dropped, I think it did. We will.
Golf still happens.
Golf still happened. What else still happened?
There was a couple of things that still happened. I mean, in the use of Champion Park Gym, I mean, those are community center type programs that could be initiated. I mean, that's what our goal was, to do more quality of life, things that, things for your kids to do during the summer that are
Right.
localized and that's the part that.
So what do we need to do? If we want to see more of that, Gerald, do we need to revisit the Parks and Recreation program budget at a later budget hearing to consider maybe a couple potential funding options that would allow that? Because what I think you're telling us is that as it is budgeted, as it's on paper today, none of that's going to happen, or at least a smaller component that perhaps we would like to see. Can you come back and provide a budget that at least gives us an option to look at that would include some programming, maybe some of what we talked about, you can distill this.
We can. One of the things I think I'm hearing you say is that on one hand, I think I'm hearing you say you don't really want to delve full bore into this. We're trying to run all these things. You want to use some existing organizations that run certain things, but try to fill niches.
A hybrid situation would work.
Yeah.
And I
we
think
would definitely work in concert with those other organizations. I don't want to nix any, I didn't ever want to just say do away with them. I just want to be able to have, okay, we have the Wiley, and I'm not, anything I say is not meant in a disparaging manner, I promise. We have the Wiley that has one school of thought on how games should be played and scores should be kept and trophies should be given and whatnot. Then we have EGRT, which has an entirely different school of thought on how games should be played and teams should stick together and those things. They are diametrically opposed schools of thought. So what happens is the kids in the middle get shafted because they have nowhere to go. And those are the kids that would be perfect on a city league. And we don't have one. And so and if somebody else wants to form a league that's not city, great, somebody come do that. But we don't have anything that captures those in-between kids. And so that's where we're missing a lot of revenue. We're missing a lot of opportunity to shape young kids and other things and be positive influences in our community because there's a whole bunch of those kids in the middle.
And we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can
No.
steal a program from
Well,
Manhattan, Kansas, or Stillwater,
that's my next
Oklahoma.
question, is part of this problem just that we don't have somebody that's done this before? Is that part of the issue?
I think it's a clear direction of what it is you want.
Do we need suggestions? Do we need, because I have somebody that could give some great input if people were willing to listen to it.
we're always interested in input, so that would be helpful for us. What you were just saying about
Never mind.
what you were saying about a baseball league, or if we do, we can look at that. If we get into that very far, we are going to need to talk about budget increases because we possibly might be talking about more personnel.
But there's also revenue to be made from that.
And I can remember the park board presentation, which I think you can remember as well.
Yeah.
There is some revenue, but there's significant expenses. And I think-
Well, but the expenses are the upfront expenses, the operating revenue. I mean, it would take a cash outlay from the city to buy equipment. You can't expect.
And then we do it every 3 years.
And then, some amount of either systematic or
First year,
gradual.
in the whole, third year, you make a little bit, third year, you make quite a bit, and then your fourth year, you gotta buy things again.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's.
I want to disagree with Tammy a little bit on this. I've been involved with Little League sports, actively involved with Little League sports here in Enid since 1973. And to say that the Y has got a program that just allows kids to have fun, and EJRT does nothing but take the best players and make, you know, semi-professional teams, and all the rest of the kids don't fall into one of those categories you left out, is exaggeration, because I know that the Y's got some pretty competitive teams, and EJRT, I've coached a lot of teams that had kids on that wouldn't make any traveling team in town.
And there's a
And
lot
to
of,
say that, you know, those kids are just completely left out is just not true.
well, no, you know what, they might get put on a team, but they get put on the Bad News Bears ragtag team with all the other kids that aren't good enough to make those teams, and then
Then
they
you
get.
get-
I mean, you got, it's heavy. I've worked,
You know what?
I've worked with these gyms.
I know, and you are coming from the EJRT part of it, so I get that you're gonna defend that all day long. I'm coming from
I know,
a
but I've seen
parent
it.
and talk to a million other parents whose kids are stuck in the middle that can't go either place.
The bottom line is we had 700 kids playing in JRT in a town of 53,000. Manhattan, Kansas, down to 54,000, I think, had 2,500 kids playing in that summer.
They got any widely.
I honestly can't answer that question. I can't imagine them not having a wide league, but I don't know.
And that's what I'm saying, that's not a disparaging comment, they're just vastly different ways they do things. They are
Yeah,
different.
that really isn't, that's, you're generalizing.
I am not generalizing, I have the damn Field of Dreams across the street from my house and watch those kids practice every single day, and it's not just one team. That's just the way they do it, and that's fine, that's great if they want to do that, it's great if the Wilds do it
I'd like
that
to come
way.
over to your house and watch that, because that hasn't been my experience.
Well, I have a huge place where everybody can come park and watch anytime they want. And they have
And
seating.
what team is this now? Just out of
I don't know the
curiosity?
name of their team.
I mean, but it's a White's DJRT team,
It is in New Jersey.
talking about baseball.
Yes.
I think just to summarize on this budget, we can definitely look at niche type things that we could do. If you really want us to delve deeper into running some leagues, we are gonna have to probably look at what that will take. We can polish up Matt Beck's presentation, bring it to you, show it to you, and see what you think.
Sure, I can tell you that if you want to start a league, you got to start a year ahead.
We're too late.
Oh, too late this year.
Sure, but,
But
I mean,
we're
let's
planning for
not
next
give
year.
up. I mean,
No,
that's-
so we need to, maybe that's part of the directive, we want a clear plan for
Next
what to
summer.
do next year.
Yeah. Can we
That
get
may be
Matt
right,
back to
revisit the
Stillwater and
change.
Shannon?
Well,
No, but we'll get somebody else.
right now, we don't have a park and rec director,
Yeah.
so that might be a good person.
This might be the mid-year budget thing that we do, would be a good time for, because if we wait till this time next year, we're coming out again.
Yeah.
So,
So what we will do is we will focus on opportunities, maximize what we can, and the direction of the commission is to really delve more into this and start looking at that well before next year and then incorporate that next year.
At least look at the options a little closer. That's all I got on parks.
Other than that, they look spectacular.
Yeah.
Except for.
Thank you, they're all working very hard.
Thank you.
Maintaining and keep up the standards.
Well, and we get updates parks department all the time, that they've been moving fences, and the bleachers from Government Spring South, they recycled them instead of tossing them, they moved them and painted them, did a huge amount of work, and they worked really hard what they had, so it's been a good group of folks.
We have dedicated a lot of manpower. If you look at those numbers, there was something like 24 full-time folks, 24 or so part-time folks. So 40-some total folks. So yes, it's been a great effort, and I think I'm glad to hear that you've seen the results. With some pretty lights. Other questions?
one kind of general trend that bothers me a little bit, that I can't put my finger on, but maybe somebody smarter than me can help me figure that. But when you flip through here, in the general fund departments, virtually every single one of them is up anywhere from 5 to 12%. But yet, at the end of the day, the number's the same because it's balanced, right? The only place where I find an inflow of cash is the $400,000 you said that we're not spending next year. We're the wrong person. I'm used to looking at you for the budget. Sorry, I tracked this your direction.
That's why I get out of that job.
We pulled that $400,000 out that we're not going to do for comp plan next year. But my concern, I guess, or what I'm getting my head around is that next year, comp plan's not there, but yet the general fund's going to be up by expenses side, we've loaded every single department by between 8 and 12%. So talk me off the ledge on that.
Okay, the revenue's also down $480,000, or 400 and whatever, from the Pegasus money and then decreasing in grant money. just 480. So off the top, we have 480 less of revenue, we have the 400 out for the comp plan. So we're already having 80,000 in the hole that we're having to take out of this budget to even get it to balance compared to last year. The biggest factor in that is the personnel. 90% last year, 100% this year. If we took personnel and only put in 90% again with the cuts, it would be significantly less. You'd be taking 9 or 10% off that 9.7 number that we have there for personnel. So,
I'm looking at the other direction.
Okay.
You make a balance, but you pull all that revenue out of it. You get every single department seems to look like it's up in expenses between 5 or 12 to 16%. So where's the rest of that money?
There's some of it in the library.
So where's
Look at the library's budget,
It's down 13%.
Public Works is
page
in
76.
Yeah.
Remember last year, Eric had challenged the libraries to reduce significantly and save some dollars. You'll see that their personnel savings is $128,000.
Well, there's 144,000 that came out of the library, which I thought, so where's the rest?
but there's increases in several of the departments as you go throughout. You'll see Fleet has some specific needs they needed. They needed a winch replaced, they needed a 4-post lift, and a diagnostic upgrade to some of their equipment. Those are one-time expenses that are in there this year. They probably moved from another department who had requests for one-time things last year. And so those kind of move around between the departments throughout. There's a whole list of stuff, if you look at Parks and Recreation, you can see their budget went up $229,000. None of that was in adding people. That's in specific items that are lined out for improvements that they're doing at parks. They gave a very lengthy list. The number last year for the 4406 was about half what it is this year for specific items that they're wanting to do to make improvements. A lot of the increase in general fund are very specific items that are lined out to do improvements and maintenance in parks. There is an overall increase throughout in general fund and throughout the city that we're seeing in vehicle maintenance too, with a lot of the fleet getting older. We've talked about need to set up a long-term strategy of replacing equipment before it gets to a place we're having to dump the kind of money that we've had to dump into it to keep things running. So that's another problem that will be addressed going forward.
Aaron, hit the departments that decreased, because I think the ones that decreased enough to cover the ones that you talked about, Dr. D, that increase in overall the budget's down 22%.
Right, $850,000 is a decrease in transfers out from this fund, and that was specifically voted on by you last year for 2 items. One was $350,000 for Crossland Trail, and the other was $500,000 to do the Meadow Lake Ride Building and Dog Park, and that money is not in the budget again this year. So that's the biggest decrease of any of them in the general fund.
Aaron, that's where maybe we're gonna get there with when we get the whole thing done and get my arms around it. It's like, okay, now for this year, we have some special projects we want to do. Okay, so where are we gonna get $500,000 to drop another across the park trail down? Where are we gonna get $1 million to put in the sewer line that I want? Where are we gonna get the things go on, and we've already balanced the budget because we've eaten up the comp plan's $400,000 because it just went up in the other budgets, and we've eaten it. You see where I'm going? We're neutral, but we haven't done anything special yet.
Well, I think one of the challenges that we're going to have going forward is we can look at special projects, but we're going to probably need to look to cut something else out. The budget that I presented is what I feel is based on the needs of the city and the input that I got from some of you, trying to capture some of that and bring it to you. If there are some things that you want to change, it's certainly your prerogative and we'll help you, but we'll need to find we're at the point that we need to find